So does life ever feel like you're living in a disaster movie sometimes? Like you feel like everything's coming at you. You feel like you got all this chaos, like the Twister movie. You got all these couches flying around. You got chairs almost hitting you. And you feel like there's things that are going to get to you. There's all this chaos on the outside. But what if we could stop that chaos from the outside from getting on us and getting the chaos started on the inside? And what if God could actually help us do that? Let's talk a little bit about this. So basically, this is something I've been learning about because it is very hard to go throughout our life knowing that there's things that can happen, knowing that there's fears that we have that we don't want to cause happening in the real life, happening to us. So there's this thing that I heard from this guy named Eric Edmeans. And Eric Edmeans is a public speaker. He was just talking about this story of two women who were sexually assaulted. And he said, there's a statistical fact that when women get sexually assaulted, it's actually way more likely that they're going to have it happen to them again. Now, women can live and choose two different paths once they hear that after being sexually assaulted. The first woman chose and decided to take a lot of pills, get addicted to pills, get addicted to drugs, because she knew that she couldn't live with that fear going on. And that fear on the outside created fear on her inside, and she had to live with that for the rest of her life. Now, the second woman decided to ask the question, why? Why is this happening? Why is all this stuff? Why do women actually get sexually assaulted more after doing it one time? And they told her the fact that it's because you start to live in fear. And when you live in fear, the predators and those evil people out there actually want to prey on that. They see that and they want to go and prey on that. It's disgusting, but it's the truth. So what she decided to do is something different. She decided to be like, okay, well, I don't want to live in that fear. I don't want to live looking over my shoulder for the rest of my life. So what she had to do is decide, okay, what can I actually do about this? She found out that you can actually get a credit card and you can slice it across the throat and it can actually slice the throat open. She saw that you could put a key between your knuckles and all of a sudden you could fight back with that. She decided to enable herself and try to find ways to fight against that fear. And all of a sudden, she started to live without that fear. She didn't have that fear. She wasn't always worried about everywhere that she went. And she actually started a self-defense class. She started a self-defense class to teach other people about this. And she is asked recently if she would go back and stop what happened to her happening. And she said no, because that person that what she was before, she actually fears that. Because she is a completely different person and a completely better person now because of it, because she's decided to take control of her own life because of it. So she decided not to let that outside chaos become inside chaos. Now, what if we could do that too? Because there's things that we are fearing, things that we're walking around with that are going to stop us from actually going out and doing something great. And what if God was a secret to all that? What if God was a foundation that we can build on the bottom so that we can go and strive for the top? Now, this is not easy because we got to get closer and closer to God. We got to try to strive to be closer to God and build that relationship with Him. But I think once we know that God is our foundation, we can stop that fear from coming inside. Because, there's a lot of things in the world that are going to be scary, a lot of things that are going to make us not want to go out there and try to do stuff. But in order to do stuff to the best of our ability, we have to have a good foundation. She started to build her foundation by being equipped to fight this next time it comes. There's going to be things that are going to come. There's going to be things that are going to stop us. But for myself, I feel like getting closer to God and knowing that I can handle anything that might come my way, knowing that I have Jesus Christ, the strongest person out there, I have God, then I can go and do anything I want. So how are you going to equip yourself for these things that might come? How are you going to fight against your fear that you have every single day that you might walk around with? How are you going to beat that? Fear is a normal thing. Sometimes you're going to be scared. Sometimes you're going to doubt. But having this crippling fear that is just stopping you from doing anything is probably not very good, man. So how can you get closer to God and realize that getting closer to God is going to make you stronger and going to make you able to go out there and strive for the stars? I just want to share this with you guys because I think this is amazing. I think this is a good way of thinking about why it's so important to get closer to Christ. Let me know how close you are right now. Let me know how you deal with fear, how much fear you have on a day-to-day basis. I love you guys. Hope you have an amazing day, week. Peace.